Thanks for coming. I know you have a choice of airlines, so thank you for choosing us. I'm Sean Morris. I'm CTO from an organisation called Nasstar. I won't spend too much time talking about us because it's not about us. It's about what you guys are trying to do with AI. But we've come from a very kind of traditional hosting and an application kind of historic place, and we're moving heavily into the AI space because it all kind of relates, right? Hosting, security, apps, data, AI, it all kind of fits together. Am I on? Got a fabulous deck I want to share with you. I'm joined by Jack.
Nice.
There we go. We're good. So let me just start by saying, those of you that are here to see the fabulous Ross Wellen that was on our promotional collateral, Ross unfortunately is ill, but Jack works in Ross's team. Jack is probably closer to the coalface than I am, so if there's any questions on the floor about practical applications of what we're talking about, then fire them at Jack. I'd love to keep this interactive. It's a bit hard in a room this big, but at any point sing out if you've got a question, and I'm happy to see what we can do to answer it. Right, so I'm aware I'm full of a room full of AI people, so some of this stuff might be known to you, but we've kind of based what we're doing on this premise that McKinsey put together back end of 24, which is what is the addressable opportunity for businesses in the AI space. And I think given the theme of the talk today is around value, it's where's that value band between what they called out and we believe is the 20% increase in productivity. That could be revenue, it could be time to revenue, it could be more of something done better. For 20% less cost, more efficiently, quicker, using less people or doing more with the same number of people. So in that space is where we believe the value proposition for this stuff lives. Now, the two of us come very much from a Microsoft background. We as a business are not exclusively Microsoft. We've got capabilities around other AI stacks, but we're very selfish. I'm not here to sell the Microsoft stack to you. That's Microsoft's job. Everything we're talking about today is completely transferable into Claude, Gemini, any of the other language models. So, but I love this. This came out last year, and it's this concept of the frontier firm. It's a Microsoft funded article, but the idea was, what does AI look like inside an organization? How do you go about adding the capability to what you do? And they came up with this idea where it's kind of got three phases or three layers, if you will. You've got the front end of that, which is where a lot of people still seem to be, and we're partly guilty of it internally in our place as well, which is the chatbot talking to a language model, asking it a question, what's the capital of France, whatever it might be. It's getting more and more powerful. You can actually do quite a lot through that interface, but where we get excited, and I don't want to overstate the excitement, but where we get excited is more moving into the kind of agentic world where you've got task-based agents working with teams of people, and I think the real magic is at the right-hand side here where you've got blended agentic and human teams. It sounds very Terminator, but I think that's where we're seeing a lot of efficiency and we're seeing people starting to move into that.
I guess we're seeing not necessarily an entire organisation be that frontier phase 3, but pockets of their organisation are starting to get there.
Yeah.
And it's how they can then help bring the rest of the organisation.
No, absolutely. And we're quite keen. I think when this started back in 23, when we started to run at this pretty hard, lots of people coming with point solutions. I've got this problem, I've bought this technology, I want to deploy it or what have you. We've evolved, and we're kind of learning as you guys are learning. Well, I haven't got all the answers, but we are speaking to more and more customers are bringing us more and more kind of novel opportunities and situations to apply AI to. We're learning as we go, and we've come up with a bit of a framework that we now apply to new conversations when we turn up, where we're trying to tease out the business value, work out a way to engage, work out how to work through that adoption situation inside an organisation. But I think what we're finding is for organisations that are struggling versus organisations that are accelerating on the realisation of the value, it fits kind of into these three buckets. I think it's super important to have a senior leadership organisational wide understanding that this is what you want to do as a business. I think if you're doing it in pockets, or if there's an initiative driven by IT or a single line of business part of the business, it can struggle to get traction. It often needs funding. We're finding at the moment organisations are struggling to get business cases signed off. So they've come with a great idea. We've done some work. We've defined a solution for them, and then they go back to the business. They kind of go, I'm not really sure yet. So we're seeing the velocity of this stuff slowing down. I think an understanding of the use of agents across the organisation, and super important, there's a skills and people element to this, which Ross, who isn't here, comes from a business change and adoption background. And interestingly, we've got more traction with organisations through the lens of business change and adoption than we have through the technology piece specifically. Interesting quote at the top, that was from the Financial Times last week. The CEO of Boston Consulting said that businesses in the UK have spent a lot of money on this stuff and they're really still struggling to find out how to get value out of it. So again, just to really state this, we see these kind of three pillars. It is the absolute leadership buy-in. It's the ability to execute on the human change. You've got to bring your people along. There's a lot of fear and concern about what's it going to do to my job? Am I going to have value in this organisation going forward? Again, we engage with businesses around that change piece. It's super important. And obviously, there's the basics around getting your technical foundations pinned. You want to add anything?
Yeah, just that you've got to be really, really agile in all three of those areas.
Sure.
Because the rate of change is so fast.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Thanks. Oh, gone too far. Go back. Right, now from a tech stack point of view, and forgive this slide's not massively pretty, but it's got a lot of important stuff in it. You know, we approach organisations with the complexity of their AI agent requirement, and then you've got the tech stack, and again, this is very Microsoft-centric, but if you're in another world, this is also true. And you can move from that kind of chat through to the low-code, no-code agent development, all the way through into the pro-code agent development. And we've learned quite recently from a customer engagement that the amount of effort required to do pro-code development is not dissimilar to what it would be to write an application. So I think people have got it in their mind, these things are 2 or 3 sprints and it's done. They are actually quite complicated. You've got to fix a lot of data, you've got to pull a lot of requirements together. The coding itself is easier, but the solution's still quite vast and complicated. So getting your head around that and the potential impact to cost for these things is super important.
Guess just on that one, if you flick back quickly. A lot of organisations come to us and ask, where are you going to build this solution? And the answer is it doesn't matter where you start. You can go and start in that middle lane, or you can start in the bottom and you can deploy to different places.
Yeah.
So don't get too hung up on which bit of technology it is.
Yeah.
You can do it all within there, and it's just picking the right place to start and then building upon it.
Yeah, and interestingly, just to echo that point, actually, let me jump forward. I'll do this in order. So, again, around the business change thing, I don't know if anyone's heard of ProSci. I'm assuming some of you have. It's a very disciplined way of bringing people on through the change program. We find it's much easier to encourage people than it is to pull them. I mean, trying to force change is quite difficult. Resistance to change will slow these programs down. If people can see the benefit of this to them and their job, and the fact that they can do more and be more valuable is definitely a way to smooth that out. Right. We were meant to have Microsoft in the room with us today, but they went and had a 2-day session in Dublin, so I'm going to skip through the Microsoft slides super quick, but this story is about them adopting it inside the Microsoft organisation. So they started super simple, and then they worked through training people into prompts, and they started to push up into more complex business scenarios. And in many places of their business, they're kind of between the yellow business scenarios and the blue extending value piece. And they're doing that, again, through the lens of people change. And if Tati or Simon McAround was here, they would be really pushing this point, going, you know, we've got a disciplined program of change. And they found one of the accelerators to value was to get the people on board, get the training in place. Heavy comms work inside, again, to get people excited and encouraged to move forward in the technology. So I can't stress enough, bring the people on the journey. I'm going to skip through the Microsoft ones. Right, so frameworks. So we've adopted the PwC BXT framework, and that looks through the lens of the business impact. So when we talk to organisations, we want to meet and see the line of business people pretty early. We want to engage with the business really early. This is not an IT program, it's a business program. And then we want to go through and say, where are you having challenges? Where are you seeing opportunity in your business? We hold workshops using a programmatic approach to extract these kind of use cases out of the business. And then you've got a lens on the user experience of those things, and obviously the technology piece is really important as well. Pulling them all together into one story, you can then present these back to the organisation and going, these are the use cases, this is where you are today, this is where you can be, this is what needs to happen to get you there. And it often goes through this kind of end-to-end journey of, that advisory bit, what technology are you using where, how do you govern it, how do you lay security into it, some of that foundational stuff. The use case discovery piece is super important. Building up a backlog of agents to be developed. We're still finding people are coming to us one agent at a time. Okay, hey, I've got an agent or I've got a requirement for a thing. We sit down, we write the agent, we hand it over. They go, great, thanks for coming. And then we sit back and go, well, do you not want any more? And sometimes in the use case discovery work, I mean, we had an organisation the other day.
70 odd?
70 use cases in a 2-day workshop with the customer. Yeah. Each one's got value.
Yeah.
So...
and also, I think, interestingly, like you said, a lot of organisations say they really want to accelerate their AI journey, but they're just still doing it in point solutions. Yes. This framework is how you accelerate it. You need all of these things in place. Absolutely.
And I think one thing that's relatively new in people's minds is this concept of lifecycle management as well. These things aren't one and done. I think there's a concept now, you can write an agent, deploy it, walk away. But we're finding now with agents that have been deployed for several months, you've got problems with things like you get model changes that need to be deployed. There's a change management piece around that. Data pipelines break. The behaviour of the agent can alter over time as it gets more and more aware of what's going on. It might start making different decisions. So there's a whole kind of test and feedback loop inside that lifecycle management piece. And we're trying to wrap all of this up into a bunch of services for organisations to go, listen, we can take you through this whole journey, but you need all of these things in place, governed by a centre of excellence.
And obviously adoption and security run around the entire thing.
Yes, thanks, Jack. I'm going to skip that one. So, look, I don't tend to love Gartner quotes, but I think this one's very, very true, that by 2028, at least 15% of day-to-day work decisions will be made autonomously through agentic AI. You may not believe that, but I think there's something in this, right? And I think, I suppose we're looking at this every day, so we're going, why isn't everyone moving faster? And I think there's some real blockers to that, getting back to the earlier slides around engagement of the enterprise, executive buy-in, having clear funding mechanisms behind all this stuff. But if that's true, the organisations that achieve that are going to, in my humble opinion, outperform the ones that don't. So it's worth thinking about. Right, so into the use cases. So actually, Jack, I'll let you run this one.
Yeah, sure. So this is the kind of the template that we use when we run workshops around AI. Like Sean said, the other day we worked with a client, did a 2-day workshop and came out with 70 of these slides, essentially. But the way we do it is we look at a business process. We don't talk technology much at this point. We look at the business process and how your organisation's running it now, and then we look at what brilliant would look like if we were to transform that using AI. We then write down the workflow challenges, working with your business users who are there doing the day-to-day, and then we start to assign some key features to it. But I think the most important bit is on the right-hand side of this slide, where it's the business impact. So we need to be looking at, if we're going to implement an agentic solution, is it doing something like saving you time, boosting consistency, increasing output, or creating a better employee experience or a better customer journey or a better customer experience. And then we'll assign the key users and give it a maturity, and then we will start to map that on a business complexity graph. So we will look at how complex it would be to implement this solution versus the business value that you get back from it. And we find this is a really, really great way of defining all those use cases and building a roadmap around it.
Okay, no, thanks, Jack. So getting back to the tech stack as well a little bit, Microsoft, bless them, have split their AI world into two. They've got the workplace AI, which is all Copilot. They've got the Azure AI, which is all Azure Foundry and Fabric. Now, we're finding, again, starting with the business problem tends to be the best way to go. What are you trying to do? What requirements has it got? Where's your data? All that kind of stuff. And it'll feed into one of those two camps. And I think the important thing is to start simple, right? I think, there's lots of really, really valuable use cases out there that are quite complex, but they're often, there's a way to step to them through some relatively straightforward agentic use cases that kind of build up a picture, and I'll touch on that in a second. But this is an example. This is an example of a more complex one using Foundry. So this organisation had a requirement. They do paper-based timesheets still. I'm checking my watch. Yes, it's 2026. Paper-based timesheets still. So we were able to put in Foundry a mechanism that could basically scan and read the handwritten timesheets and get that data into the timesheeting system. But that level of complexity, and don't swing at me, is not a Copilot thing. It's a Foundry thing. So in that tech stack, you again start with the business case. You move down. Okay, there's a requirement to scan. It's a multimodal thing. We've got images coming in. We need to scan and recognise handwritten notes. That pushes us into that tech stack, and on your move. And you're leveraging common interfaces to applications to get the data shifting around. So this is an example. I'm doing all the talking, Jack.
That's right.
No. This is an example of kind of what we were talking about stepping up through layers of complexity. So, it's now a lot of places we're talking to, it's all around multi-agent orchestration. So you're presenting a single agent to whoever wants to consume it, staff or potentially customers. And we're now building more and more of these sub-agents. And each of these agents, it's almost like, those of you that are old enough remember object-oriented development and stuff. You write these and you write them once. You write a correspondence agent and you can call it from many orchestrators, right? So you start to build this library of capability in the business. And then when the business comes with a new thing, you may have 40, 60% of it already developed, and you can then put that inside an orchestrator and move forward.
And I guess it's important to get the platform right at the start. So you don't want to be building point solutions in different environments that can't talk to each other. So getting this first sort of journey into multi-agent orchestration, make sure you've started and got the right baseline.
Yeah, thanks. Right.
10 minutes.
This is like a 40-minute presentation. I've done it in 20, so forgive the speed. Right, so let's make this real. These are real customers we've been working with real use cases. Now, we were challenged the other day. We presented this deck a couple of days back, and one of the guys said, you've talked about value in the context of business process automation, haven't talked much about it through the lens of how a customer's using this with their products and services in market. So I've got two of each here. So choose a picture, I'll tell you a story. Fenix. That's yours.
My one, yeah. So with Fenix, we've been working with them for quite a while now. We ran one of those workshops where we ran discovery sessions, took out scenarios, and one of the great things that we're doing with them around the customer journey is creating like a rapid marketing deployment. So there's sort of advertising screens within a store, and rather than previously it would be they have to go to print and print out paper posters that they're going to stick up in the store. Now we can very quickly deliver rapid marketing that's hooked into things like the weather. So if it's hooked into the Met Office API, so it can look and say if it's raining, let's start pushing umbrellas when they're walking down the street in Newcastle. And it uses colloquial language as well, depending on which store location they're at as well. So being able to just really kind of focus in and rapidly change and have that kind of hyper-personalization, I guess it is, just using an agent. And it's a relatively simple agent to set up something like that, and there's then going to be approval workflows off the back of it. So it's not just given free rein to do it, there's still a human in the loop.
Yeah, and there was a second iteration on that where we were actually taking products from their product catalogue and generating images with models, AI-generated models, wearing stuff that you can walk into the shop and buy, which was pretty cool. Choose another picture, I'll tell you a story. Yes, property, right. So this is a conveyancing law firm. So their problem was people like that lovely couple there would go out, look for a house on a Saturday, and they would then instruct the conveyancing lawyers to then transact on the house that they'd just seen through the builders that they're working with. And they were getting somewhere between 250 and 300 instructions on a Saturday. It was taking them until Wednesday morning to process all of those requests, by which point 30% of the customers had found another lawyer. So they, now full disclosure, we're in the process of doing this one, but it's real. They are writing a sales agent that's going to sit behind that, where it will receive the instruction from the buyers on the Saturday. It'll process it, it'll generate the contracting documents, it'll get it out, they can sign them, comes back in, uploads it to the case management system. So for them, that is it's a sales bump. If they can get more of that 30% they're losing, there's a revenue thing there, and it's also speed to revenue. They can obviously get onto those customers or those buyers, like first thing Monday morning, and start to execute on that. Pick another story. Pick another picture. Right, TfL. I think I can say them. Can I say that, Rob? TfL?
You just did.
Oh, man, okay. They're a London-based public sector transport organisation. They needed to validate people's addresses and what have you, details, in order to provide a discount to one of the tunnels. I can't remember which one. So they were about to hire 350 staff to come in, and people were sending copies of their bank statements and council tax bills and stuff to get eligible for this scheme. We wrote an agent for that. I can't remember the exact numbers. I probably should know because I'm stood in front of you all, but it's literally tens of thousands an hour of applications this thing can process. They ended up hiring about 15 people just to govern the process. And it not only validates it so it can read a bank statement, a council tax bill, it can lift off them your personal details, it validates what they've been told against what the person's told them. It's also got an anti-fraud element to it as well, because it can forensically scan the files and see whether they've been altered, whether there's any kind of like compression artifacts and stuff in the document, so it gives it a fraud check. So that's a great one. So that was a cost-saving one, but also it was quite a good efficiency gain there. The only one left is the school.
Got a question at the back.
Oh, yes, go.
Hi, I just have a question on the property.
Yes.
Case. So I have implemented legal AI for sort of law firms and enterprise in-house teams.
Sure.
Just for over 7 years, and I wanted to get your opinion on when you're integrating AI to review contracts, etc. And then obviously you've got that entire workflow. You get a contract in.
Sure.
You give it context, and it goes back into the CRM system. What's your opinion on context in terms of AI data ready, governing AI data? Because adoption rates do fall when the output isn't quite exact.
No, I totally understand. Okay, super complex question. Maybe I can talk afterwards. I've got some idea that is there. But I think in that scenario, they're merely using it to automate the sales process. So they're not doing any of the legal work there. It's just contracting with the customer that wants their services. So that's relatively straightforward. We do a lot of work with law firms. I've got another law firm that's actually talking about publishing a contract redline service as a subscription service to the public. So you get a contract, you fire it up, you pay them 15 quid, it does the first pass, gives it back, and you can walk away. Or they might come back and say, hang on, there's some sensitivity there, would you like to speak to a lawyer? And they can escalate from just giving you the red line through to full services through this portal. Again, not live, this stuff's all pretty fresh. But I think the important thing there is the accuracy of the model in doing its job. I think there's a couple of things there. I think with Claude Opus 4.6 coming out and with GPT 5.4 coming out, they are, by all metrics I can find, twice as good as the models before them at doing these type of jobs. So I think the whole concept of it getting it wrong and hallucinating is becoming less and less of an issue. But there's also part of the prompt engineering. I mean,
I was going to say, I
think
think iteration is really important. It's not going to be right first time, and having your instruction set, which is essentially your system prompt, that's the thing you have to iterate on over and over again. But like you said, they're just getting, it's only today's as bad as it's going to be. The new models are getting so much better at this. A lot of them are still in preview, but we're seeing with agents that we've built before, we stick the latest model on it and the results are so much better. So it's going to get better.
And we do spend a fair bit of time, probably giving away some of the trade secrets. We spend a lot of our time telling it what not to do.
Yeah.
So you end up tuning it, right? And there are use cases where this is really, really good for. There's some you'd still struggle a little bit. Context is always going to be an issue. I mean, we were talking last night over dinner, how exciting am I about context windows.
I think we've got 1 minute left. But...
Oh, 1 minute, okay. We'll talk more. Yes, thank you. Were we done? Was that the last slide?
Yeah, that was the last slide.
Okay, so listen, we're outside. I mean, this I could talk for an hour about this, and trying to belt through it in 20 minutes has been tricky. But any questions now?
I have a question.
Yes.
I interpret the stance it very much as a bottom-up enablement.
Yes.
From the grassroots or the cold face of your businesses. And I think there's an implicit assumption in that the business process is efficient
That is a great point, right? Yes.
Coherent business architecture.
Yes.
Now, in my shop, that would be side of desk work.
Yes.
It would be funded as part of, say, a transformation program.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where do you see the sort of scope for top down and plugging into transformation directors, wholesale agentification of business?
Okay. So in our experience, that's somewhat rare. So we have a couple of customers that are absolute shining lights for that. So there's one organisation who I've been told on threat of death not to drop their name, but their CEO went away for Christmas, came back and went, we need to digitally transform everything. So, no. And he's put a large sum of money aside over the next 4 years to digitally transform the entire thing, of which agentic is a part of it. Because sometimes with the automation as well, automation's not agents, right? I mean, you a bit of both. But so we've probably got 2 or 3 we're talking to where there's a top-down initiative to crack on and do some of this. Where the top-down stuff is working is like the TfL example where they've got a really specific use case. I have a problem. I think an agent or an agentic app will solve that problem. They tend to get funding, they tend to get backing, there's a really easy business case to do. But those organisations, I find, struggle with the broader enterprise-wide adoption because they've done the one thing and they go, look at us, we've got AI. But it's like, well, for that one thing you have.
I guess when we do that scenario mapping, that's where we always talk about the simple ones that are going to give you massive business value, but quite often there's some really complex ones that are going to give you huge amounts of business value, and that's where that top-down level one comes in, I think. And running those workshops with an organisation, it's important to have people from the leadership across the business in them.
Yeah.
Because then they get that view of it, the thing that they might not even know about that's happening in their organisation.
And interestingly, some of the agents that are delivering real tangible value are really noddy. I mean, we've done ones that are exposing. Like a staff assistant bot that's exposing policy, helping them book, travel, those kind of things, right? Interfacing with the HR system and some of the line of business applications around the people. They're not hard to write, right? And all of a sudden you've saved, so many hours across a team of people. So it's finding that, just to echo your point, it's sitting down with the business, finding the use cases, showing the value back. You're going to save. So we don't tend to talk about saving money through headcount. That's not what we're here for. We will save you X number of hours. You've got a team of, say, 10 people working on this full time. If we can save 20% of their time, don't make me do the maths, but I'm going to hand back to the business a bunch of hours that you can then redeploy elsewhere, getting them doing extra stuff, put a pounds and pence value to that, and all of a sudden the business case starts to take some shape.
Or be able to grow without having to massively increase headcount.
You're going to kick me out, aren't you?
Yeah, we're getting told. There's loads of questions.
Listen,
come and see us on the stand.
Yeah. Listen, thanks for coming. It's a massive topic. Tried to do it really quickly in 25 minutes and failed by 5 minutes. But thank you all very much for coming. We're on the stand outside.
Thanks very much.